would you do if your newborn's first days were invaded by a toxic mother-in-law who refused to respect boundaries? This isn't just another mother-in-law drama, it's a real-life twist where family betrayal and selfishness put a baby's safety at risk. Stay tuned for this unbelievable story. Of all the toxic mother-in-law stories I've heard, this one really made me pause and wonder, how far will some people go just to satisfy their own sense of importance, even at the expense of a fragile 2-day-old baby? Imagine this. You've just brought your newborn home from the hospital. You're exhausted, your body is healing, your heart is full but fragile, and all you want is a little peace and quiet to bond with your child in safety. But not everyone respects that sacred time, especially not a Just No Mil like this one. On the second day of the baby's life, the husband's mom, let's just call her the mother-in-law from Drama Central, decided she had to visit the baby. Not wanted to, not was invited to. She insisted it was her right to see the newborn. Now here's the real kicker. Her entire household had the flu. Yes, you heard that right. 5 people in her home were sick, coughing, sneezing, feverish, and she still thought it was perfectly acceptable to visit a brand new baby whose immune system hadn't even had time to wake up yet. When the new mom gently but firmly said no, that it wasn't safe and the visit would have to wait, the mother-in-law exploded. She accused the parents of hiding the baby from her, acting like this was some cruel revenge or family betrayal podcast-worthy drama, rather than a simple act of protecting a vulnerable infant. She made herself the victim in this story, twisting concern for a child's health into an attack on her personal rights. You can already feel the beginnings of a classic narcissistic mother-in-law move, can't you? But wait, it gets better, or worse, depending on how you see it. The day after she threw this fit, the mother-in-law woke up. With the flu, herself. Yep. She was next in line to catch the virus her household was passing around. She was so determined to force her way into that home that she was willing to risk the baby's health, even as she herself was about to get sick. It's a moment straight out of the toxic family Reddit files, or one of those twisted true revenge stories where karma arrives faster than expected. Now let's pause for a moment. Imagine you're that new mom. You've just given birth. Your world is spinning with hormones, fear, love, and exhaustion. And instead of getting support, you're battling your own mother-in-law for the right to keep your baby safe. What does that do to your trust, to your relationship with your partner, who might be caught in the middle of this wife versus mother-in-law story? This situation raises some tough questions. Why do some people, especially certain crazy Mills stories types, feel they have ownership over moments that clearly belong to the new parents? Is this selfishness, entitlement, or is it a deeper inability to let go of control? I'd love to know what you think. Have you ever faced a moment where protecting your child or boundaries made you the villain in someone else's eyes? Drop your thoughts below, because this could easily turn into another classic relationship drama podcast discussion. And just when you think this toxic mother-in-law story couldn't get any worse, it does. Because it wasn't only the baby's safety she disrespected, it was the new mother's peace, her exhaustion, and her very sanity. You'd think that after pushing boundaries with the flu fiasco, this justnomil would back off, right? Sadly, no. On the very first night home from the hospital, when most mothers are praying just to catch a breath, rest a little, and start figuring out how to care for their fragile newborn, this poor mom was wide awake the entire night. Her baby, just 3 days old, couldn't settle. He cried, fussed, struggled to sleep. Every mother knows this moment. You try feeding, rocking, whispering softly, nothing works. It's raw, it's exhausting, it's reality in those first few overwhelming days of motherhood. But what did the mother-in-law say when she found out that her grandson kept his mom up all night? Did she offer sympathy, understanding, a little emotional support? Not at all. Instead, she delivered the most insensitive comment possible. Well, the baby's going to have to learn to sleep by himself at some point. Can you imagine? As if a newborn, barely 72 hours old, is supposed to sleep through the night like a grown adult. This isn't just ignorance, it's classic behavior straight from the crazy Mill Stories playbook. Where empathy should have been, she gave criticism. Where warmth was needed, she gave cold judgment. It's moments like these that make you wonder if this is more than simple misunderstanding. Is this part of a deeper narcissistic mother-in-law pattern? One where the mill can't stand not being the center of attention, even when the focus rightfully belongs to the new mom and baby. Instead of offering help, she offers guilt. Instead of building confidence, she plants doubt. It's the kind of subtle emotional sabotage you hear about in every good relationship drama podcast, or those jaw-dropping toxic family Reddit threads. And let's not forget the father in all this, the husband caught between his wife and his mom. How do you navigate that tightrope? Support your exhausted, overwhelmed wife, or risk your mother's anger? These are the seeds of a long-running husband-mom drama that so many couples struggle with. And no matter which side he leans toward, someone will feel betrayed. Classic family betrayal podcast material. So, here's the bigger question I want to ask you, dear listener. Why do some mothers-in-law believe they're parenting experts for a whole new generation, when their advice is not only outdated, but also harmful? When does experience cross the line into interference? At what point do you as the new parent have to lay down the boundary and risk offending family to protect your peace and your child's needs? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had a moment like this, where setting a boundary felt like starting a war? Share your own wife versus mother-in-law story in the comments below. After all, these small moments shape the bigger family dynamic more than we realize, and they make for the best story time with a twist. And just when you thought this toxic mother-in-law couldn't cross another line, she did. After disrespecting health boundaries and dismissing the mother's exhaustion on that impossible first night home, she managed to top it all off with an entire day of manipulation and deception. A real justnomil podcast nightmare. Here's what happened. This mother-in-law planned a family outing, promising it would only last 2 hours. Sounds manageable, right? Especially when you're caring for an 18-month-old toddler and a newborn. 2 hours outside, maybe a light lunch, then home in time for naps and some quiet. But no, that was just the bait. What actually happened was an 8-hour, all-day ordeal in the blazing heat. You can probably guess what that meant for the poor mom. She had only packed enough snacks, water, diapers, and distractions for 2 hours, because that's what she was told. But as the clock ticked on and the heat rose, so did the tension. Her toddler grew restless, tired, and frustrated. There were no naps, no shade, no toddler-friendly activities, only endless walking, heat, and confusion. The child, overwhelmed and miserable, had tantrum after tantrum, crying, screaming, breaking down in the way every exhausted toddler does when their needs are ignored. And where was the narcissistic mother-in-law during all of this? Smiling, laughing, having the time of her life, as if this whole day was crafted just for her. And it probably was. After all, the child's needs didn't matter. The exhausted mother's stress didn't matter. This was a day designed for her joy, her control, her selfish satisfaction. Another perfect example of the self-centered behavior you always hear about on those crazy Mill Stories episodes or toxic family Reddit posts. And the worst part? On the way home, when the mom was utterly drained, feeling like she'd just crawled out of an emotional war zone, the mother-in-law had the nerve to say, "He just had the best day. He had a blast." Imagine the shock, the sheer delusion. How could someone be so blind to a child's distress? Or was she pretending not to see it? Because in so many of these relationship drama podcasts, denial is a powerful shield for those who don't want to face their... Of course, this puts the husband in an impossible place again, caught in that classic husband-mom drama trap. Does he confront his mother and risk family conflict, or stay silent and let his wife feel completely unsupported? It's the kind of inner tug-of-war that makes you wonder how families survive such family betrayal podcast moments. So, here's what I want to ask you today. How do you handle someone who rewrites reality to suit their own comfort, when their version of the day is so far removed from the truth you lived? What do you say? How do you keep peace without losing your sanity? Share your own wife versus mother-in-law story below. Your experience could be the next great story time with a twist that helps someone else survive their own family drama. And here's where this whole toxic mother-in-law saga really hits a nerve. Because after ignoring health risks, dismissing exhaustion, and ruining what should have been a peaceful family outing, she showed her true colors in the most subtle but telling way possible, complete and utter denial of reality. It's the classic signature move you hear so often in narcissistic mother-in-law stories and toxic family Reddit tales. But this one feels personal, real, and unsettling. Imagine this. You've just survived an 8-hour nightmare of heat, toddler tantrums, no naps, no food left, no shade, and no patience. Your baby's been uncomfortable the whole time. Your 18-month-old is melting down every 15 minutes. You, the exhausted, stressed, overwhelmed mother, are hanging on by a thread. And what does your mother-in-law say on the way home? He just had the best day. He had a blast. What? A blast? This wasn't Disneyland. This was the pits of parenting hell. The child was sobbing, screaming, angry, red-faced, sweating. You were scrambling the entire time to soothe him, calm him, distract him. But for her, this justnomil, none of that existed. In her mind, this day was perfect because she enjoyed it. It was as if the feelings and needs of anyone else simply didn't matter. This is what makes these crazy mill stories so disturbing. They reveal the kind of quiet gaslighting that chips away at your sense of reality. You start questioning yourself. Was it really that bad? Am I just overreacting? Did I imagine the tantrums? But no, the child's distress was real. Your stress was real. What's unreal is the toxic mother-in-law's version of the day, a lie built to protect her comfort and ego. And that brings up another layer of this drama. What do you do when someone so close to your family lives in such deep denial? You can't reason with them. You can't prove what they refuse to see. So you're stuck carrying the weight of their fantasy while living in the exhausting truth. This is where many of the relationship drama podcasts hit hard, because so many listeners have been there, stuck between someone's carefully spun lie and their own raw experience. And let's not forget the ripple effect on the marriage. This is textbook husband-mom drama territory. The husband hears two completely different versions of the day, his mother's cheerful fantasy and his wife's painful reality. Whose side does he take? Who does he believe? This is where family betrayal podcast moments are born, when one partner feels gaslit, unsupported, unseen. So I want to ask you, listeners, what's the right move here? Do you call out the lie and risk the explosion? Do you stay quiet to keep the peace, knowing the truth burns inside you? Or do you slowly, silently distance yourself from someone who refuses to face reality? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe your own wife versus mother-in-law story holds the answer for someone else walking this impossible path. Because in the world of storytime with a twist, the small moments of denial often reveal the biggest truths about family, boundaries, and respect. And here's the part that really stays with you, the quiet damage left behind after every one of these toxic mother-in-law moments. When the day is done and the house is finally quiet, that's when the real weight settles in. Because it's not just about a ruined outing or a sleepless night, or even the reckless risk she tried to take with the flu. It's the lingering feeling of disrespect, of being unheard, of being treated like your role as a mother doesn't matter. That's what this new mom was left with. After the lying, the denial, the manipulation, all dressed up as grandmotherly love, she had to sit with the hard truth that her justnomil wasn't going to change. The pattern was clear now. Every time boundaries were set, this narcissistic mother-in-law twisted the story. Every time she was told no, she became the victim. Every moment meant to protect the baby turned into another round of family betrayal podcast-worthy drama. And what does that do to a marriage? It wears you down. It drives a wedge between partners. When the husband is caught between the husband-mom drama, trying to keep peace while his wife suffers, resentment grows, trust cracks. Even the strongest relationships feel the strain of these endless relationship drama podcast battles. It's exhausting, painful, and isolating. But here's what's important. This mom didn't break. She saw the pattern early. She stood firm for her child. She said no when it counted, even when it meant risking offense. And that matters. Because every boundary held is a step toward peace, toward sanity, toward protecting what truly matters, the health and happiness of her baby. So maybe this isn't just another crazy MIL story. Maybe this is the beginning of something better, a family where boundaries are respected, where drama doesn't get to win. Because when you deal with a toxic family, you either bend or you hold strong. And this mom? She held strong. And I know some of you listening right now have been here. Maybe not with a mother-in-law, but with a parent, a sibling, a friend who can't take no for an answer. Someone who rewrites the truth. Someone who pushes until you either give in or break away. These aren't just stories for a justnomil podcast. These are real lives, real families, real moments of decision. So here's how I want to end today's episode. And I promise, no deep thinking required. If you've ever dealt with a mother-in-law like this, or any toxic family drama, drop a simple emoji in the comments. Maybe a card if it involved your child. Maybe a card if the drama got heated. Or maybe just a quollen if you've had your share of eye-roll-worthy moments. Let's see just how many of us are out there, navigating the same wild world of wife versus mother-in-law stories, toxic family Reddit moments, and relationship drama podcasts made real. You're not alone. We've all been there. And your little comment might make someone else feel just a little less crazy today. Thanks for listening, and stick around. More unbelievable family stories, more twists and more truths coming your way soon on this channel.